in my understanding, most of the aspirants they actually take preparation and answer writing in a sequential manner.
So what happens is at this stage, with this mindset, your answer right.
Factors that they need to keep in mind to finalize upon some optional.
If I talk from sociology point of view and very unbiased opinion, because at the end of the day, if any student even comes to me, I say at the end, lot of rankers they are clearing it with sociology, and consistency has been there. So I think given all these facts, it's a good contender for your optional.
Hello all. For this podcast, we are joined by Shilpa Bhatti ma'am, who is a civil servant, a faculty and mentor for civil services at R.C.Reddy IAS Study Circle. Also, she is one of the most renowned and respected faculty in the country for sociology optional, general essay as well as ethics. Now, we'll try to strike a conversation with Shilpa ma'am and try to gain her valuable insights with respect to UPSC preparation. Welcome ma'am.
Thank you. Very delighted to be here.
Ma'am, you have seen UPSC from different perspectives as an aspirant, a ranker, and also now as a mentor, successfully mentoring hundreds of students. So, given this continuous engagement with UPSC ecosystem, what do you think people fundamentally misunderstand about this examination?
So, if I see the exam from an overview, I feel that most of the aspirants mistake this exam to be merely a test of knowledge. So, it's not just about knowledge, it's not about hoarding books, it's not about reading multiple PDFs, it's not about watching hundreds of videos every day. The UPSC preparation is more about how you apply that knowledge and how structured your knowledge is. What is the direction of your preparation? That is more important. So we are today in times when there is no dearth of knowledge. You will agree with me on this point. You open Telegram, you will get thousands of PDFs on the same subject. Now, in this scenario, when there is information overload, right, and we are in an era, information overload is not just from the, not just from the newspapers, it's also from the social media also. So we are surrounded by a continuous, a mountain of information. So the examination doesn't remain just about knowledge. It's about how do you get that filtered knowledge, how do you apply in your examination, right? And do you have a proper direction to your preparation also? Like, in physics, we talk about vector. Vector comes always with a direction. So you can keep on studying books, and if there is no direction in your preparation, you will not be able to clear this exam. And then second thing about this exam is that answer writing is very, very crucial rather than passive studying, because students usually have this notion that once my preparation becomes perfect, then I'll start writing answers, and that's a wrong approach. Preparation will never be perfect. Even if UPSC on the last day of the exam says that okay, we'll give you 10 more days, and actually it happened in the COVID times also, UPSC had given extra time. So hypothetically, even if UPSC gives you at the last moment 10 days, 15 days, still you will feel that okay, if 5 days more would have been there, my preparation would have been perfect. So what happens is at this stage, your with this mindset, your answer writing gets neglected. So you are just studying and you have absolutely no idea that can you write an answer. At the end of the day, UPSC preparation is about writing answers. That is your tool in the battlefield. And if you are not preparing before the battle, you are bound to fail in this exam. And third and the last important thing about this preparation is that prelim, mains and interview, they're not separate things. They are integrated together. So if you are studying for UPSC exam, it doesn't mean that okay, I'll first clear prelim and then see mains and then think about interview. Okay, interview, even if we leave it for one side, prelims and mains, they're both integrated with each other. If you clear prelim, then how will you write an answer if your preparation is not integrated? And usually students start taking it as a, a kind of a 5-year program, that first I will clear prelim, then I will just give mains for testing, then next year I will clear mains, and then write whatever I am, whatever I have practiced, and then probably next year I will clear mains and then I will go for it. Don't make it a 5-year program. You never know, there are so many rankers who get the rank and give exam for rank improvement, they don't clear the prelims next time. It's a very, anyhow, any competitive exam, it's very harsh. You don't have space for even little mistake. So let your, the whatever attempt you are giving, first attempt, second attempt, let it be your last attempt. Don't wait for that, okay, UPSC gives 6 attempts, I have a lot of time. No, you don't have. You are in your 20s, that is the most productive years of your life, and at this point of time you have to give it an all, because 6 attempt means you will waste your entire 20s, and what if god forbid you are not able to clear, then what about your employment? So don't think about 6, think about just one attempt, one day at a time. So these things, I think, while I have been at every stage, I've been an aspirant, I've cleared exam, I've mentored students. So these three takeaways, I feel, if students understand, the success in this exam becomes much easier.
Makes a lot of sense, ma'am. Indeed, that answer writing component, in my understanding, most of the aspirants they actually take preparation and answer writing in a sequential manner. Essentially, they don't make answer writing part of preparation. Yeah. So you made the very right point at the beginning itself. So taking them parallelly. So answer writing, making answer writing part of the preparation. Okay. Ma'am, the next aspect is like lakhs of aspirants actually start their preparation with a lot of enthusiasm, interest, in fact, but only few of them actually survive this battle, if I may say so. So, what is it that separates the serious aspirants from the casual aspirants?
Okay, that's a nice question. So when we talk about serious aspirant, or we usually say a person who is an officer material and somebody who is a non-serious aspirant. So there are two very important things, and these are, I feel, in life also these two things are very important. First is your discipline over motivation at any point of time. See, motivation is, I see few toppers, or probably I'm going on road, I see a IPS officer in uniform, I see a cavalcade of cars accompanying him, probably he's giving orders, and I get motivated. Right, I'm really pumped up that today I'll finish the entire polity book today, I'll practice 10 answers today. This is motivation. The thing about motivation is it means off. Today I am motivated, tomorrow I might not be motivated. So what is a key difference between a serious and a non-serious aspirant is both of them are motivated for the exam, but the serious aspirant, he has discipline. Discipline is very important, because motivation, today you are feeling happy, you'll do the work, tomorrow you are not feeling well, you'll not do it. Discipline is no matter what, you're not feeling well, you're not feel like studying, right? Probably there is a distraction, there is some wedding in your family, or there is some family trip going on. Discipline is that this is my routine. If I have to study for 8 hours, I will study for 8 hours. And this is applied in every aspect of life, I feel. Take example of, a simple example of probably going to gym, right? So you might be motivated that today I will go to the gym, but next day you feel like, okay, I'll probably eat something outside, and you don't go there. So here discipline comes in, which tells you to get out of your bed and go to the gym. So same applies to a serious candidate and a non-serious candidate. Discipline is there, consistency is there throughout the period, and it's not a very short preparation, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, it's a huge year-long marathon. And even not year-long, you need 1.5 to 2 years minimum incubation period is there for this particular exam. So discipline is the foremost important thing, it's a prerequisite for this exam. Then second thing is emotional resilience. That is very important. Bouncing back from any failure, bouncing back from any stressful condition. That is very important because this is a long journey, right? There will be lot of struggles. One day you will be feeling very anxious. You will have lot of doubts about yourself. Even if you're doing good, you will think about, am I good enough to clear this exam? Am I intelligent enough to clear this exam? Is it there in my destiny? So a lot of self doubt will be there. Then, obviously this has 3 steps. You might fail prelim, you might fail at mains level, and sometimes even at the interview level. So here your emotional resilience, bouncing back from all the impediments throughout the journey which you face. So how do you bounce back from there? How do you control your emotions? I'll give example from my preparation. So when I gave my mains, it was my first mains, I cleared it, and I thought it was pretty good, right? And now I've given 2 interviews. Somehow, always my interview has been towards the last week of the interviews. So when you give interview towards the last, so obviously after 2-3 days, the result is mostly out. So you don't have much time left for prelim preparation. So in my preparation, I'd given mains. I was very confident. I gave interview also that I will clear this time. I will get. So my preparation for the next attempt, right? Because anyhow you have to study till you get a rank. You cannot rest. So I was so confident that I studied little less. And when the result came, my name was not on the list. And this was my first mains and first interview. Now, at this point of time, there were only 15 days left, right? And obviously, you're sad about that. You're not cleared exam. And sometimes I think about it. I actually feel that it was really funny. I cried for 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes, I was back on my study table and studying. So this type of emotional resilience is very important. If you don't have it, it will become really difficult for you in the preparation process.
Mentorship has really become a buzzword, ma'am, to such an extent that it is, in fact, creating a confusion among the aspirants. So, according to your view, what should a meaningful mentorship comprise of?
So indeed, I think in the last few years, the UPSC, the structure about preparation, it has changed from just the chalk and talk kind of programs where just come to the class, teach, and just go. It has been some not replaced, I would say, but addition of the mentorship has been there, and which is a very good thing. And when I talk about mentorship, it is a good step because when you see aspirants, a lot of them are students for whom there is no family background. There is nobody to tell them what to do, what not to do, which books to study, which sources to see. Is their preparation going in a right direction? I myself came from a family where there was no background. I will be a first generation group A officer, but the thing is here mentorship is very important. When you don't have any clue, you might be a very good student, you might be studying nicely, you might be writing answers, but are you doing it the right way? Here's where mentorship comes in. And mentorship is not just guidance, it's continuous hand holding. Somebody holding your hand from the start and making sure that you are there at the destination. It helps you fix your individual gaps. There will be lot of areas, and mentorship will be telling you that okay, these are the gaps, these you need to improve, and in fact the opposite also, that these are your strength areas. Identifying your weaknesses is as important as identifying your strengths also, because we can reap a lot of marks from your strength areas also while we are improving on weaknesses. So mentorship gives that space where your individual gaps are covered. So that will be a meaningful mentorship. Secondly, mentorship is an important tool of accountability, right? You come to the class, the faculty is teaching and faculty is taking a wonderful lecture, but she doesn't know if the student is getting the lecture, is he writing the notes, Did he understand the concept? Did he go back and write an answer? The faculty will be clueless. Now here mentorship will ensure accountability will be there, a continuous check will be there on you. So if you are not writing answers, there will be a person, a well qualified person to tell you that okay, you know, you have to cover this part now, your answer you didn't write yesterday, to write it tomorrow or whatever. And sometimes we do come across students also who are not doing well emotionally also. Mentorship comes there also, where we motivate them also, right? Sometimes there's a family problem, sometimes there's general, anxiety about the exam. So meaningful mentorship goes beyond the exam, goes beyond the guidance concept. It is more about accountability. It is more about your, bridging the gaps which you have in your preparation, and also having a one to one connection with the student, so that he feels that there is somebody there to help him out. And you were really, correct in this point that it has become a buzzword. So here I want to add a caveat is a good mentor is also very important. Somebody who has been in the process and cleared the exam. And I have seen in R.C.Reddy Institute that it's not that anybody can become a mentor. There are very strict guidelines which I have seen, right? I am there, I guide student, Gautam sir is there. Both of us have cleared exams. Both of us has been through the journey. It's not that we are just giving an information which is not tested. This information which we give, it's tried, tested, and we have cleared with it. So that makes a whole component of mentorship which becomes meaningful rather than just being a buzzword.
Ma'am, so the next aspect would be about selection of the optional, especially with respect to the beginners who are starting their journey. So, what would you like to tell them regarding optional selection? What are the factors that they need to keep in mind to finalize upon some optional?
Okay, now optional is something which is, very important in your preparation. Syllabus is fixed, obviously, GS syllabus is there, and then comes the optional. The thing about GS is, apart from the static part, there is a dynamic part. News change, important topics change, new events will happen in the world. Every year, if you're giving a repeat attempt, there will be some change in the GS part because it has a dynamic thing. Now, when it comes to optional, it is fixed, at least with respect to what subject you are choosing. So the first and foremost thing, keeping this in mind, that it will be fixed in your entire preparation, is that you need to have interest in that particular optional subject. You actually, I would say, you need to be in love with that subject. That if I give first attempt, if I give second, if I give third, I have to read the same books. There will be absolutely no change. There is no event happening. Obviously, we do current affair integration and subjects like, in sociology also. But more or less, you will be repeating that again, and one attempt is not like you will be reading for one. You will be at least revising for 3-4 times. So if you are not interested in the subject, if you are not in love with the subject, your 500 marks depends upon that. And if you don't like it, how will you carry forward with that particular subject, right? I often tell students that there is no good or bad optional. Absolutely no classification that this is a good optional, this is a bad optional. Any optional can be good if you like it. If I have, my maths is not good, I just take it because ABC topper got 310 marks, I will never replicate the marks because I don't like maths, right? So you have to take it which suits you. So if somebody got a first rank, 10th rank, or whatever rank, it might not apply to you. You might not like that subject. In my journey, I did the same mistake at the start, and I was fortunate enough to take a very quick decision. So when I started my preparation, so because I came from a medical background, so people said that you come from science background, take a optional subject which is technical in nature, and that's geography. And I followed it. I didn't see the syllabus, and in 20 days I realized that this is not my cup of tea. And I'm not saying geography is a bad optional subject. It's a good optional subject. Every year, a lot of, rankers clear from geography, but it was not me. The subject didn't, click with me. So in 20 days, I realized I need to change it. I need to do something which I actually love. And I ended up taking up sociology, and I feel, not just limited to the exam that had helped me clear the exam. It showed me so much insights with respect to society, with respect to general life. I think I would have been oblivious of all these facts if I would not have done sociology. So, optional subject should be something only, rest things, syllabus, short syllabus, scoring, toppers, etc. They are important, but they come at the next levels. Most important thing is your interest. Take it as an example that, choosing an optional is like, choosing a spouse, right? So when you choose a spouse, the first foundational concept is that you should be in love with that person, because if you don't love, there will be a divorce. So if you take optional subject and it's a long journey, and in between after one attempt you realize I don't love this subject, it becomes very painful to leave that subject and then opt for something else.
Yeah, ma'am. In fact, changing optional is very costly too.
Yeah, absolutely. You're changing costly, not just monetary way, but also, you have to change your entire orientation. If you switch from geography to sociology, your entire, mindset has to change whenever you're doing. Or if you're changing from socio to anthro, your entire, mindset gets changed. So, you're paying with not just money, but also with your entire mindset and time also. That's more
Yeah,
important.
yeah. Of course, ma'am. Apart from money, your energy,
Yes.
time, etc. Yeah. Ma'am, given your association and expertise with sociology optional, so what makes sociology a very good contender for optional subject?
So if I talk from, sociology point of view and very unbiased opinion, because, at the end of the day, if any student even comes to me, I say at the end, I can tell you what are the positive points. Decision is yours, because you have to read the subject. So what I feel with respect to sociology is that, first thing is that it has a very great overlap with the GS. So when you are studying sociology, GS1 society part is done. When you are studying your sociology, your social justice part is done. Lot of aspects in ethics, they can be covered from there, and then essay also. Like, if you pick up previous year question, lot of questions have been related to sociology. There was one, I think 2-3 years back, there was a question with respect to patriarchy. Now, patriarchy in sociology, we do it in detail about that, right? So you have a overlap with GS, so it makes a lot of things easier for you. And second, I would say is that it has a very short and crisp syllabus. If you pick up the syllabus, you'll see topics, subtopics are very short in nature. So 3.5 to 4 months of classroom teaching and 3 months of your self study. So, like in R.C.Reddy Institute, sociology starts in your June, it gets completed by September first week, and then from September mid, say September 15 till December, you have time to revise, to write answers, right, and to do whatever kind of value addition you want to do. So, short syllabus helps you in this way, that it will not stretch up to 6 months, 8 months, and then at the end you have to do self study. Anyhow, there's no replacement for self study. So, a short and crisp syllabus. Then I feel when we are talking about sociology, its value goes beyond, exam. Obviously, everybody wants to clear exam. It helps you see things, you know, from more depth rather than a superficial level, which will again help you in GS also, where UPSC looks for depth rather than you giving descriptive answer. It is looking from analysis point of view, how much analysis you can do. So while you are doing sociology, lot of things in society which you feel are very normal in nature and you take for granted that this happens, you realize while studying sociology that there are underlying mechanisms which are going beneath it. Say for example, in every Indian household we see that your any the lady of the household, or you can say your mom, she gets up, she's the first one to get up in the morning and she's the last one to sleep. Now this is a pattern which we see in all our household and we have normalized it. But when you start reading sociology, you see a pattern of patriarchy here. That why the sole obligation of taking care that she should be the first to wake up, cook meals for everybody, clean, and then at the end, she should be then again cleaning the house, making sure the next day's work is done. Why only the lady is responsible for that? Here, the institution of patriarchy comes in. So these things help you to go beyond what is visible to you. Invisible aspects get more visible to you. You become more analytical. You start questioning institutions. You don't take things on the face value that somebody told you that, okay, follow this religion. You start asking questions about religion also, about your society also, about family also, about the concept of marriage also. So you don't say that, okay, everybody gets married. Why? What is the reason behind it? Why did society had this aspect of marriage? So lot of this brain rewiring which happens during sociology, it helps you to become analytical, which obviously will help you in your GS part, in your sociology part. But as a human being, I feel my journey as a human being, changed when I started studying. Lot of things which I was, had no clue about. I was oblivious about certain facts, how society functions. So sociology makes it very, clear about these concepts. And then lastly, I would say you are already a part of society. You have certain familiarity with the concept. Family concept, marriage, religion, So you're not starting from scratch. You already have some basic knowledge about the society. Classes will just help it to, take it to a level with which you will clear the exam. So these points make it sociology as a good contender, and it has been a good performing, consistent performance in UPSC also. Every year, lot of rankers, they are clearing it with sociology, and consistency has been there. So I think, given all these facts, it's a good contender for your optional.
Okay. Okay. Ma'am, going further with respect to sociology, so based on my first-hand experience as mentor, so most of the students choose sociology based on one single factor called familiarity with the syllabus. Once they choose sociology, they'll quickly complete the syllabus, as you said. But several of them will be actually stuck at that mediocre level. I'm referring to the marks at the mains level, 160 to 180. They fail to reach that exceptional or good level, 260 plus or whatever is the high score. So what according to you is that factor which will enable them to surpass that 250 260 mark and be come out as a very exceptionally good scorer or ranker with respect to sociology?
So when we are talking about sociology, and for the matter of fact, we are talking about any optional subject, getting 280 to 300 score, this is non-negotiable. You have to get it. If you are getting 160, 180, you're out of the race already. So there is no point that, okay, if I get less marks, I'll cover up with GS. You won't be able to cover up with GS. When you see GS, average good marks will be around 100, 110, that's it. So your major chunk of marks will come from optional only. So now what happens is lot of students get stuck at that 150, 170, and which breaks their chance of clearing the exam. So what lacks is that the answers which they are writing, there is a lack of depth, descriptive answers, giving just the information. Analysis is lacking, and this is true for even GS also. Your answer need to have certain depth. This needs to have a sociological analysis. Lot of students, they pick up answers and write in a very GS style. You are giving an exam for sociology, your answer need to be in your sociological manner. So if it is asking about family, family question will come in GS1 society also, it will come in sociology also. So here the depth of analysis is very different, the direction in which you go, the examples which you give, the thinkers which you quote, that will be very different. So lack of sociological analysis, lack of depth in your answers. Then I would say that when you talk about low marks in sociology, one another factor is students usually think that more thinkers I'll write, more marks I will get. That's a absolutely wrong notion. Don't overload your answer with thinkers. One thing you have to remember is your original thought matters more. Thinker is just validation of your thought. A thinker 100 years ago, 200 years ago gave a theory. How do you apply it today? How do you explain it? And then you validate that, okay, this XYZ thinker also said this in this theory, this. But if your each point starts with that, okay, Karl Marx said this, Emile Durkheim said this, Weber said this, where is your thought? How did you understand sociology? Thinker will come in the second line when you validate your answer. So this is one very important gap which happens in your sociology preparation. Overload of thinkers is there. Last is, today UPSC is looking for current affair integration in your answers, and this applies for optional subject also, and this goes for obviously sociology. So when you're writing things, right, you have to integrate it with your current affairs also. So if there is a question about marriage, very recently there was a survey by JP Morgan that by 2030 almost 40% of women will be single and childless. Now this shows a trend that marriage is no longer a lucrative thing for women, especially women, not, we are not talking about men. Now this current affair, when integrated with marriage question, obviously what type of question is there, this will add value. You're not just telling from a general perspective, you are also telling that yes, I can integrate what I have studied in the optional subject with the current affairs also. So I think these points have followed. There is nobody who can stop you from getting 280 to 300 marks.
Okay. Ma'am, given your expertise with respect to general essay and also the ethics component as well, so most of the listeners will be disappointed if I don't get meaningful insights from that area as well. So, if I may ask, ma'am, what is that recipe of a very high scoring essay? I mean, genuinely good scoring essay. What is that recipe?
Okay. So, I don't want to give a very long answer. So, I'll be telling you few caveats about the essay. But students, whoever are watching this, I have already taken one lecture on essay. So, in the description box, you can, see that whole 1 hour thing. Obviously, I'll try to tell you in next 4-5 minutes about essay. But in case you want something detailed in nature, you can just check that video out. Now coming back to your question, a high scoring essay, one has to realize few things, that essay today is mostly on quotes. It's quote based, it is philosophical in nature. So it's no longer essays which were coming, pre 2017. They used to ask that, okay, technology is a boon or bane. It's very simple. Now they are asking quote based questions, right? Quotes like simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? They will be asking you questions about that, ships are safe in the harbor, but that is not what ship is made for. Now this is your topic, and this is giving you absolutely no direction what to write. This is filled with metaphors. So the first aspect of writing a good essay is you decipher the metaphor which is given in the topic. Once you understand that quote, then the essay writing becomes very easy. Secondly, there has to be a balanced perspective in your essay. You cannot have a point of view which is extreme in nature. You have to be having things which are balanced in nature. then write as many as dimensions as possible. Then one thing which I have noticed in students is they write essay, and essay is nothing but examples. Right, the entire essay will be filled with just example. Essay is not just examples. Example is important, but integrated with your analysis. Again, the same thing, you validate your point of view with an example. So that it has to be a team of analysis and your examples in the essay. And about, like I said, detailed discussion about the essay. There's entire 1 hour lecture is there where I have discussed previous year question, where I have given frameworks which makes it easier to write an essay. A framework is something, no matter which topic comes in, you will be able to write an essay on that. Now secondly, coming on ethics part, and in fact if I would add here 3 very important aspects of your UPSC mains is optional, essay, ethics. Why? Because these are the 3 areas where you will get the maximum, right? So when you're talking about optional, it's easier to get 280, 300 marks if your preparation is good. Essay is good, you have the potential to get 130, 140, even 150. We have even examples where people have got 160 also. I've given 2 mains, I've got 150 plus both the times, right? So 150 you cannot get in GS1, impossible. GS2, very difficult, right? 3 also very difficult. Most of the toppers will get 110, 120, that's it, right? And obviously every year the marking scheme changes, right? The directions about how many marks, what will be the maximum, but essay and ethics, these are the 3 areas where you can extract maximum. Even in ethics we have seen people have scored 130, 134 marks also. One of my students recently, she's got 360 rank, and in your ethics part she has got 130 marks in ethics. So you cover up lot of, if there is any gap in GS1, GS2 answer, you cover the gap from there. So now ethics, the thing is that you have to again prepare from an aspect where your thoughts are novel in nature, not just what Immanuel Kant said, not just what Mahatma Gandhi said. Your thought process, they want to check that are you a ethical person? How will you be behaving when you become a civil servant? What are your moral standards? And even case studies are there. So one thing which you have to remember here is that when you are going through your ethics, it's not just about books. It is about what do you think about it? How do you integrate examples with it, right? And obviously your writing style, that matters a lot when it comes to essay and ethics, very important. Your style of writing becomes very, very important here, because GS 1, 2, 3, these are technical subjects. You write intro, body, conclusion, that's it. Here you have to change a little bit. You have to bring in novelty. And for ethics also, if you check R.C.Reddy Institute's YouTube channel, you will find out that lot of tips and tricks and how to do answer writing has been discussed there also.
That's quite insightful, ma'am. So before we conclude, I would like to wrap it up with rapid fire section. So I'm expecting as many filterless answers as possible, ma'am. So firstly, one book or person or an idea that influenced you deeply during your journey of UPSC.
I would say book I would suggest, I think everybody should read it. It's The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. So now this book talks about positive manifestation, that you build your life by manifesting, and it's not about daydreaming or something. You manifest things, right? You don't feed yourself with negative things. You do that positive manifestation and it converts into reality.
Right. One habit every aspirant must get rid of immediately.
Social media, very important. It decreases your concentration, your attention span, and social media is absolutely not for a civil servant. Please deactivate your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything.
Okay. According to you, most overrated aspect in UPSC preparation.
Overrated aspect, I would say, collecting books, right? Collecting heaps and heaps of books, and also you ask for one thing and making notes similar to the books, that is also overrated thing.
Okay. Then what about the most underrated aspect of the preparation?
Revision has to be multiple times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. UPSC is about revision, retention, and then replicating it in the exam.
Okay. Lastly, if not UPSC, what alternative career path do you think you would have pursued?
So by my graduation, I'm a qualified dentist. So probably I would have been in a dental chair if I would not have been clearing this exam.
It's quite insightful and very nice talking to you, ma'am.
Same here.
Thank you for your time, ma'am. That's quite insightful, and I believe aspirants would have gained a lot from this interview. And aspirants can check out in the description for more informative videos from Shilpa ma'am, and especially you can get access to special orientation session with respect to sociology optional from Shilpa ma'am. That would be scheduled on 31st of May